guys, welcome back to The Hard Line. I'm Lucy and I'm here with my 4 guests today, Jordan, Anya, Becky and Emily. I'm going to let each one of them introduce themselves today. Start with you, Jordan.
Yeah, hi guys. Jordan, coach at Coventry University Women's Rugby and Trinity Guild Women's Rugby, so rugby club up in Coventry.
Hi, I'm Anya. I'm a player. I play at Stirling University Women's Rugby Club, and I also play for Stirling County Club, a club in the area in Stirling.
Emily?
Hi, I'm Emily. I used to play for Kingston University women's team, but now I play for the Bedford Blues women's team.
Hi, I'm Becky. I'm an Aberystwyth University old girl, and now I play for Amber Valley Tigers in Derbyshire.
Fantastic. Thank you all for being on the show today. We're talking about grassroots women's university rugby, and it's often quite a pivotal point for a number of players. This, for some, is often their first step into rugby. A lot of them have played only for a short period of time before then joining a club, and some not at all. And that's what I want to delve deeper in today is what does that journey look like for a university player? Becky, you started at Aberystwyth. Why did you join rugby team?
Oh, I'd probably say my dad gave me a bit of a nudge. I'd always kind of watched rugby, and we're definitely a rugby over football family, but I'd never played. Dad played when he was a lot younger. And I thought about it when I was in my first and second year. And then I played in a team in the Aber Sevens tournament, which is, I think, it's something like the biggest Sevens tournament in Wales, and it's great. And had a go at that and kind of caught the bug a little bit and thought, right, we'll go for it next year. And I turned up at Freshers' Fair the next year, turned up at the table, went, do you want any more players? And immediately said, here's our training times, come along whenever, and I just stuck with it and ended up sticking with it until I graduated.
So interestingly, you didn't start as within your first year, you actually went in your second year. So yes, you went to the Freshers' Fair, but you weren't a complete newbie to the uni.
No, not at all. So I'd already at that point done my first year, a placement year in New Zealand, and then came back as well. And yeah, I was still a fresher, and I was still classed as a fresher in the team and had to do all the fresher things. But it was great, and there was, girls of all experiences, all ages, from all different years. And while I was in the club, there was girls joining in their final year or in their first year of a master's, so they'd already been there for 3-4 years already.
Mm-hmm. Emily, did you have the same experience? Did you join as soon as you started uni, or were you a latecomer as well?
I was actually quite similar to Becky. So I joined partway through my second year. My housemate had been part of the team since her first year and was kind of saying, we need more players, come on and join in, have a go. So I went to a training session and then, like Becky said, caught the bug. I wasn't really into rugby before that. Didn't particularly watch it on the TV or anything either. So yeah.
And Anya, you had a slightly different experience. You were mentioning earlier that you actually played before you went to uni. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I started when I was kind of 17. I say kind of because I didn't do loads and loads. But I played for an under-18s team, and then I took a year out once I finished school and played for a Prem team, the Prem team Watsonians in Edinburgh for a year. Mm-hmm. And then so I came to uni, having already played for a Prem team, already played a fair amount of rugby sort of for 1.5 years, and joined then just sort of as soon as I came, as soon as the Freshers' Fair was up.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. And Jordan, you're currently working with players like all 3 of the girls here. How big is the university rugby scene, particularly the women's?
Yeah, so I think I've just noticed a massive shift. So across the 3 or 4 years I've been involved, where kind of I guess it's kind of reflective of the whole growth of the women and girls game generally. Fastest kind of sector that's growing in the sport in the country. And we've probably gone from my first year where a lot of the freshers coming in may have been completely new to the game, and that was like the kind of the split of the freshers coming in were totally new. Whereas now I think there's a bigger influx of players coming to uni, having had some previous experience and then actually actively looking for the rugby team because they want to play rugby. which I think is just growing the uni game, because I think you've still got those girls who are, just looking for something completely new. It's a total leveler because there are so many new people coming into the game. I still think there's a lot of new players come in, especially in the women's uni game. So it's a great leveler in that respect. But then having a lot of players joining who have played before, I think we're seeing it, that the competition changes every year and it's just getting more and more competitive. And there's more teams there's more kind of universities with I say you call them lower 15s, seconds, thirds now actually entering in the leagues, and that's only indicative of one thing really, just the growth. It's just unbelievable, really.
Fantastic. And how many athletes have you got at the moment, Jordan, as part of the team?
So I guess this year's been a bit of a write-off, hasn't it? But when we kind of finished our pretty much last full season, had about 30 athletes on roster, I guess you'd call it. It's just kind of been a growth year on year for us. That kind of 18 to 20 regulars when I started, and we're at 30 now. And I guess the next step for us is a second team. So probably wasn't even a conversation back when I started. So that's pretty cool for us.
See, Anya, you sit on the committee at Stirling as well, didn't you? How big's the squad at Stirling?
Not quite as big as what Jordan's saying, but we get sort of, as you said, this year's been a bit more of a write-off, but in general we'll get sort of 10 to 12, maybe even up to 15 regulars at training. At the moment it's definitely sort of around 12 people that are regularly there. And not this year, but the last year that we played in the league, we had a lot as well. And I think, like Jordan was saying, even in my uni career, I think, because I'm in third year at the moment, even in my uni career, I've seen a bit of an increase in the influx of players as well, which has been really good.
Fantastic. And Becky and Emily, I sort of pose this question to you girls. What made you stay after having such a long time deliberating whether you were going to join and then joining the team? What were the reasons why you then stayed?
I think the team. It was something completely different for me. I'm not a particularly athletic person. I don't profess to be, but the team is so mixed, and they were just great. And even our coaches, they were just students. We didn't have any kind of professional coaches. We had Claire, who played for the local Aberystwyth team, but was also part of the university staff. But everyone just encouraged you all the time, wanted you to keep going, and it made me want to keep going, and winning helped as well now and again.
Becky, Emily, was it the same for you?
Yeah, I think for me it was very much about the social side, not just with the girls I was playing with, but we normally played matches with the men's team as well, not with them, but at the same time as them. So then we do sort of social things after that. And like Becky said, everyone's just so supportive. So,
Jordan, is retention a big issue at uni clubs? Keeping the girls involved?
Yeah, I guess it's as much an issue as it isn't. I know that's a bit of a set on the fence answer, but I think it's all about your first impression, and it's if you get it right early on and you have a really good environment kind of around you. And I hate the kind of just buzzwords and that culture and all that kind of stuff, but it genuinely is that ethos of the team. And I see kind of unis who have a real struggle with it. Well, the ethos and the team isn't driven by the players, and it's not what the players want. And I guess that's just good coaching, and a good coaching generally is kind of putting out there something that the players want, that all the players are going to benefit from. But no, I think it's so competitive, the sport market at the minute. So many sports all fighting for the same people, and then you've got the uni degree on top of everything else. So I definitely think there's been a big shift where I do students here, but students actually take their degree seriously these days. Whereas I think a few years ago, there's a lot more guys who were quite relaxed about their degree. Like it was just something that's going to happen, and their rugby was their rugby time, and then my degree can sort itself out. Whereas now I think there's a lot more people quite conscious about their degree, and whether that's because tuition fees are now a lot higher than they were before, and it's like people just got that in the back of their minds now that I'm going to uni and I'm going to get 30, 40 grand worth of debt. You know, I need to make the most of it. So I think that's kind of changed, but we haven't seen a big retention issue, but I know other unis have. So I'm not going to sit here and say retention isn't an issue at all. But like I said, we've been pretty lucky that we haven't had that.
Fantastic. And do you think that, you know, if we look at the players who are both at uni and are studying as well as playing, how do you then formulate your plans throughout the year? Would you say that the way that players and athletes look at the game is slightly different? Is it more competitive than it was perhaps a couple of years ago as a result?
Yeah. I think the key for us is kind of understanding what the players are going through. So it's kind of quite early on, like we want to get to know the players, but also the kind of the degree they're on. And then I guess through the years, you start to understand when someone says they're on this course, you start to understand all the requirements of, oh, well, last time we had someone on that course, you know, they had a nightmare. They're always a nightmare second semester. They're just head down, whatever else. So then you start to tweak all your stuff around that and just try and make it as user friendly as possible. So, you know, making training mandatory was just ridiculous. Like, what a silly thing to do that is. Like, as good as it would be, and as a coach, yeah, it's amazing to work with everybody every week, but it's just knowing that players can come and go as they please, but within that kind of framework where they buy in and kind of want to play. But if they need to take a session off or whatever, they're happy to do that. And we're fortunate with the uni that we started to get some kind of support from the sports union in terms of kind of helping the players manage their time. So if there ever are any issues, that we can actually escalate that and help it. But we're not in Buck Super Rugby. So if a girl needs to miss a game to do some studying, well, you know, your degree is fairly important. It is the most, what you come to uni for is your degree. So let's put that first.
Absolutely. And you guys, having been at uni and played as well, would you say that you were on the side of wanting the culture at the club to be more competitive, to win games? Becky, you mentioned you love winning. Or were you sitting on the side of loving it and enjoying it, but it was very much a social part and something you were doing that as it were?
I have to admit, I probably should have taken my degree a little bit more seriously. But I'm in a good position now, and you know, I did work while I was there. But the rugby definitely kind of kept me going, I think, through like final years. You know, final year is tough no matter what degree you do. So as much as it was a social thing and a hobby, and Wednesday nights were always good fun, those girls really kind of kept me going through my degree, as well as kept me going and having fun every week as well.
Fantastic. Emily, did you have the same experience?
Yeah, part of me, I think, looking back now, wishes that maybe I was a bit more competitive with it. I do kind of regret there's some matches I didn't do maybe because of my degree. But then, like Jordan said, your degree is while you're at uni, and it is the most important thing. But I think, yeah, for me, it was more about the social. And again, like Becky said, that final year, it definitely got me through, especially when I was on placement and things. Going down there on the Tuesday and Thursday evenings really helped.
So both of you have touched on points there of rugby being quite an instrumental part of your third year, and particularly from kind of the mental health side of things and the social side of things. Anya, in your third year, you're going to start looking in the next couple of months about what's next for you. Is your plan to join a club post Stirling? And if you are, which club are you looking at currently?
So I'm actually sort of equivalent of your second year right now, since Scotland is a 4-year degree. So I think post uni, I've not really thought that far ahead yet, but I'm going to continue playing for my local club at the moment, because that's a prem club, and it's a really good way to sort of supplement my uni rugby. Yeah, I think afterwards I'm not really sure what my plans are for after uni, but I'm hoping to keep playing with the club because it's something just that I really enjoy. And I think actually this might be sort of different from what a lot of people say, but lockdown has actually taught me that I do just really want to play rugby just for rugby, rather than getting sort of hung up on the fact that, oh, I need to go to this because the team needs me to play this game or something like that. So it's been nice to sort of sit back and say, yeah, actually, I just really enjoyed the game. So I will be looking into clubs, but I'm not sure which ones yet because I don't know where I'll be.
Fantastic. Emily, you joined Bedford because a friend had told you to go down. How did you find finding a club once you'd finished uni and then integrating into sort of the club environment?
I found it really hard. So I had about a year and a half gap between leaving uni and joining the Bedford Blues. Just because I moved up the area. So where I was at university, it was down in southwest London. And while the university did a great job of saying, well, there's these clubs around when you leave uni in the area, there wasn't necessarily anything for people that were moving out the area. So I actually found it quite tricky. And the Bedford team, it's newly formed. It's only been formed a year. So I found it quite tricky, and it was really daunting to go back. I knew it's something I wanted to do and I loved doing, but it was really daunting because I'd had such a long time out of it.
I mean, the club I'm at currently has a really great connection with the local uni down here in Tooting, and one of the obvious benefits that we've all seen over the last maybe 18 months and something that no one really noticed would happen when we sort of started the partnership was that the players who are graduating through the uni that are playing with us at Beck are then leaving university but still able to stay on with us, and therefore post their third year they're still playing with the girls that they were playing with at uni. So there's that nice link between, you're sort of not leaving in a way, you know, you're still seeing those girls that were a big part of your social environment, and I think it's a great continuation of university girls like yourselves who are really getting into it and passionate about it to then move to a place that's familiar, rather than having that daunting experience of wondering where should I go and I don't know anyone, and you're sort of reliving that freshers time all over again. Becky, how easy was the transition for you moving from Aberystwyth across?
It was a funny one, really. My family are all based in the Scottish borders as well, so it's nowhere near. I moved down here for my job, and one of the first things both Dad and me kind of mentioned were, I wonder if there's a ladies rugby club nearby. And I think the hardest thing is actually finding which rugby clubs have a ladies team. Often rugby clubs just advertise their men's and their minis and youth, and it's not always easy to find a ladies team. And I tried using things like Pitch Hero and things like that and wasn't getting very far. And ended up just going on Google Maps, finding rugby clubs and messaging them and seeing if they had a ladies team. And luckily enough, I found one quite close and went along, and it was lovely, and I had a great season with them. It just wasn't for me, so I moved on to Amber Valley, and I actually heard about them through a friend, and they kind of recommended me to them, and I just messaged the coach, turned up to pre-season last summer, and have been there ever since. And yeah, it's tough trying to find a ladies team when not every club, or not necessarily your nearest club, has one, because then your next step is, well, where do I look?
Absolutely. It seems to be a continuous theme, particularly when I've spoken with a lot of girls about, particularly when they're joining Beck and they're sort of, I'm the first one that they're contacting. Jordan, how important is it for university clubs to link up with their local clubs and make that connection available for the girls as they move on?
So important. You know, like we're seeing a massive shift, and just the fact that typically, you know, years ago people go to uni then they go home, whereas now people tend to go to uni, graduate, and stay in the area, or maybe if you're in a nice area, maybe Coventry's in between. But a lot of people go and they stay in those areas now. That they've actually made their life there while they're at university. So it's like, I think you hit the nail on the head that you actually get to carry on playing with those girls that you played with, you made friends with. We see a lot of girls who, you know, their friends aren't their course mates, their best friends are their rugby teammates, and they're the ones to stay in touch with. So I think the benefits work both ways as well. So, you know, from a uni perspective, you can get potentially additional coaching support from those clubs. Like I think Becky was saying that, you know, coaches were a student or someone from a staff member from, it was also a local club. So you can, you know, potentially get extra coaching support, extra game time, or game time if you're busy during the week. Actually, I'm going to play in the weekend, or even get a bit of both. We're definitely seeing the value of linking in with the university, and equally, coach both teams, so it's very useful. But the benefits, it's just so much easier for players to access rugby, and it just takes away that step where you guys said, talking about trying to find a club. You're already at one. There's a women's team. People there. A lot of those steps are out. That kind of helps that process. So we're massive advocates for it. I guess the challenge is who at the university knows about the local clubs. So if you're just a university coach and you're not involved in a local club, your job is to know about your players in your group. You can't be expected to be an expert on all the local clubs. Unless, I guess we got to advertise the benefit to those coaches to start understanding those benefits, and then hopefully they'll help. There's tools out there that make it easier, but I think it's still a long way to go in terms of clubs raising their visibility of their women's teams.
It's an extremely important point that Becky raised there, and we've just put up a link in the comment section for the map of women's clubs across the UK, which, guys, you will find useful. But is there more we can be doing as clubs to advertise ourselves, Becky, in your opinion? You mentioned it already. Should we be more proactive with making sure our women's teams are visible both across social media, websites, etc.? What can we do more to be more visual?
Yeah, it's a funny one, really. I mean, I've done social media for clubs before, and I mean, our Amber Valley at the minute, we're all putting together individual posters about ourselves and why we're part of the team, or why people should join the team. And you can pump out as much social media as you want, but unless people know what they're looking for, it often goes missed. And I think often the problem is in the men's game, because often the teams retain kind of through age groups. If those lads move, they've often played in God knows how many different counties or whatever, so they know about all the other teams. And I think it's much easier in the men's game to find your other clubs because you probably know about them. It's because the women's teams are so thinly spread. I think it's one of those problems that is possibly going to stick around unless there's a team in every town with every rugby club. But I think just individual players and word of mouth is the way to do it, really. I mean, like freshers fairs, all you have to do is say to your flatmate, I'm going to go to the rugby training this week, do you want to come? And that could pull in another 3 players. So it's exactly the same at club level. If you can bring along a workmate, that's another possible player for the season then, if they stick around.
So Anya, how do we get more girls taking up rugby at uni? How can we make it more attractive to them?
Gosh, show me the biggest question there. I think what Becky said about word of mouth is really important, and I think possibly linking up with university unions would be also just as important, because we've had a couple of study abroad students who've actually contacted, who've sort of gone through the union website for Stirling Uni and contacted us through that, and contacted the president saying, hi, are you running training sessions, what's the team like, and that kind of thing. And Stirling Uni, our club has a really good link with our union, and I think that definitely helps. And Jordan mentioned earlier about sort of links and can help things like funding, and I think establishing that sort of secure connection with the union will almost ensure that the longevity of your team. And I think, just having a more established thing would help people find you more, even if they don't know what they're doing. And things like freshers fairs as well are also super important. I'd say those are probably the most 2 important things in my opinion.
And Jordan, that link up with the sort of students' union, is that something you would encourage clubs to be doing as well, making sure that their details, because particularly Becky, as you mentioned, with sharing coaches and things like that, so could clubs connect with the student unions as well?
Yeah, 100%. I can't speak for every club and every university, but the RFU have tried to increase the number of kind of basically improve the uni game through their clusters program, and part of that clusters program is there's a central pillar to that of having club links. But for us, as rather than just having one good link, so even as a university team, we train at a rugby club, but we recognise that we might not be the right club level for those players as well. So we want to have a network of local clubs, understand who locally is in the pyramid and where they're at, and ultimately, engage the players at the right level. So I guess the challenge for the students' unions and sports unions, they could be looking after 50, 60 sports. So I guess the message really is to the rugby clubs is, don't sit there and wait for a uni to come to you. You've got to be proactive from a rugby club perspective and get the message into the uni. And whether it's the uni, so for us it's Sport Coventry, whether you're messaging Sport Coventry or you're messaging the uni team page itself, exhaust all avenues to try and get your link in, or just try and get a contact there. Because you never know, there could just be someone rocks up to the students' union and says, I want to play rugby. Where can I play rugby? I mean, I don't know if that's ever happened, but you just don't know, though. Like you just, I guess we're a lot of places are getting good at welcoming people when they actually arrive. Like that first experience at the club is really good, but actually, people's first experience of your club now is no longer them rocking up; it's them trying to find you in the first place. Yeah. And just on what Becky said, as a guy, it's probably take it for granted. I could just basically Google a rugby club and rock up. There's going to be a men's team. 99.9% chance the men's team is going to be there. All I have to Google is a training time. Do you know what I mean? Like, whereas for a woman at the minute, it's still trying to go, well, actually, when do they train? Actually, is there a women's team? Is it at the right level for me? And all these other things. And how the clubs put themselves out there is, so important. Your social media, Pitch Hero, or whatever you're using, it's so key. And that's actually your first experience with people. So how do we maximize that?
I massively agree. Something that comes up quite a lot with us is, as you quite rightly say, when do you train? Do we train with the guys or is it just girls? That's a big thing as well. A lot of players who come, they're quite nervous to be training on a pitch with 40 other guys when we have a mixed session. And so what we've done as a club is then have a female only session. And I don't think there's a lot of clubs that do that proactively at this point based on numbers, but I think it's certainly something they should look at. Even if you've got 10 girls, hold the session of 10 girls, because you'll find their confidence will build. And obviously when you get new players, they'll be more comfortable coming down as well. Do you think that by having that connection with clubs, you're more likely to get players? And Emily, I'll throw this to you because of your experience moving into Bedford, but having that connection with a club makes you want to stay on and play rugby for much longer.
Yeah, definitely. I think if at university I'd had a connection with a club in the area I was moving to, then I would have gone straight away. There's no question. So it is a massive shame that there aren't clubs everywhere and you can't always make that connection as soon as you move into another area, just because there aren't the women's clubs around.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It stops that point of, I haven't played in a while, or I used to play at rugby conversation that comes up a lot with when you're meeting new people at the club, which is a real shame. I would love to put it out there and ask you who your grassroots rugby hero is. And I'm going to start with Jordan and work my way round. I know you've been dreading this question coming.
Yeah, no, I got two. If I'm going to cheat slightly.
As many as you want.
Just two. That's perfect. So our first one is out and out grassroots. Her name is Julie Channer. She was a mom of one of my good friends who was in the junior teams when I was growing up. But she just, probably never cared about rugby until we started playing as boys. But has just done everything for the club. Like, she literally runs the club now. Like, I don't think the club would function as well without her. And I think a lot of the boys and boys I played with, a lot of them wouldn't probably be playing now without Julie. And the support she's given the women's team at the club, and that's an old Edwardians. So I suppose I've got to give a shout out to them. So shout out to that for Julie. She's just a phenomenal individual. Done so much for so many people, and probably she gets thanked a lot. She's that kind of person that everyone always says thank you to, but probably can still not get thanked enough. Julie, number one, and my second one is slightly different, but it's actually Wasp fly half Jacob Umanga. So I'm pretty fortunate that he coaches with me with the Cobble Uni girls and Trinity Guild women. But the best, every Monday, he come from really good session, really bad session with Wasps or England, and he'll still be there coaching. But on the day he got his first Six Nations call up to the England squad, was it Monday? It went to press. Monday night he was still helping out on a cold, freezing cold, wet night in Coventry. He was still there helping out, and even the day he came out of England camp, because the boys had flown to France and he wasn't in the squad, he was there Friday night helping coach a session. So, for me, that's two people that deserve a massive shout out. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
Anya?
How do we think about this? And I think my mum would actually be my flatmate, because I've known her since the summer before I started uni, and we were in a couple of the national programs together, and she's also at the uni team, and she also plays for our local club team, Stirling County, as well. Her name's Kirsty Martin, but she's always someone who's stuck out to me, because she's really good at sort of welcoming people of all skill levels into the club, especially at uni. And she's also sort of one of the most committed players that I've played with, just in terms of on the pitch and off the pitch, coming to training, coming to games, helping out behind the scenes and that kind of thing. So she's definitely a hero to me. Cheesy as it sounds, even though she's my flatmate.
Emily?
I'm going to cheat a little bit as well. Sorry, I thought really hard about this. But I'm going to say all the players and coaches at the Bedford Blues women's team. It started off with the Inner Warrior camps, and our first training session, I think there was about 10-15 of us, and we've just celebrated our first year anniversary. Just to see it grow and grow has been amazing. Just to see everyone empowering everyone else, everyone's so supportive. It's just an amazing team.
And congratulations on your 1 year anniversary.
Thank you very much.
Becky?
So I kind of have to obviously say all my teammates and my coaches for every team that I've played for, to be honest, because they've just kept me stuck in the game, and I don't want to leave anytime soon, thanks to all of them. But there is one person that always sticks in my mind when I think of someone that's kind of really stuck at it and has been a massive hero, and that's one of my old teammates from university, Amy Best. She's played club rugby over the years, but she played for Aberystwyth University. And the year she became captain, she was in quite a serious car accident, and has had massive reconstructive surgery, and it's taken her a long time to kind of get to the place where she is now. She's now completed an MPhil. She is becoming a PT. She is coached and screamed at all of us girls at the side of the pitch through 2 winning varsities and God knows how many socials and all sorts, and she's just an absolute warrior and a hero, and I couldn't imagine what she's gone through to be in the place where she is now, and I think she's just fab.
Fantastic. It's good to hear those stories. Just a quick reminder before we log off for the evening, I would encourage every uni player across the UK and Scotland as well, if you are looking to join rugby and join a club, check out the Fill Your Boots map. A lot of them are on there. If you are at a club and you aren't listed on there, get in touch with Fill Your Boots and get yourself listed on there. Make sure that your pages are updated so that when these girls are looking for clubs to join, they know exactly where they're going and who to speak to. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining me this evening. It's been a great chat, and we will see you all soon.
Pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.